Welcome back, everybody, to the Word Around the Ring podcast. My name is Big Rob, and I'll let my tag partner reintroduce himself.
I'm King Jess, and we're the only podcast with more emotion than a Jey Uso promo. Wrestlemania is only 10 days away. Where has the time gone, brother? We have a few things to touch on this week, from EO finally standing on business to more favors being acquired. So, Rob, what's been the word around the ring?
I can't believe it is only 10 days away, but it's crazy to think that this time last year, WrestleMania was already over and done with. The weekend had passed because it usually takes place the first weekend of April, and this is the first time, if not in a long time, that I remember that they've had it in like the third weekend of April, April 20th. So I think that delay here has us in angst. We're looking forward to it. I know you're located in Vegas. I'm gonna be out. There's gonna be a fun weekend that I'm really looking forward to. So I can't wait for it to finally culminate. But before we get into that, definitely got to cover all the hot topics here. We finally have we finally get some progression across some of these storylines that we've been looking forward to, and one of the big ones, of course, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and what is in fact and what has been revealed to be as the favor that CM Punk has been bringing up to Paul Heyman, to Roman Reigns, that he is owed because of the help that he gave Roman in the bloodline. But to kick things off on last week's episode of Friday Night SmackDown, we started off the show with CM Punk opening up for his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. He thanked the fans again for their continuous support throughout his career and how much he's looking forward to main eventing WrestleMania. During this heartfelt promo, Paul Heyman walked out and continued to serenade Punk with praises and telling him that he deserved this spot and he deserves the main event of WrestleMania. But he asked Punk to please, 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 and please with him, please tell me, what is this favor that you're referring to? What is this favor that I owe you? And Heyman also mentioned that Roman Reigns was still not yet in the building, as he was scheduled to be there because he has a busy schedule and he is training for Mania, of course. And Punk took offense into this, and he told Paul that he would much rather wait for Roman, the big chief, to show up so he can tell him and the rest of the world what this favor is, because he knows that it will have an effect on him, and he wants Roman to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. So Punk walked away, and Heyman looked extremely nervous. He was shaking in his boots. And then later on in the night, of course, Roman Reigns finally arrives in his black SUV with 10 minutes left in the fucking show, because where else would he be? Um, Gets out of his SUV, he speed walks his way into the ring, and he's pissed. He walks through backstage through Gorilla, and when he finally gets to the ring, Roman asks CM Punk to come out and finally to reveal to the world what this damn favor is. But instead of Punk coming out, Seth Rollins decided to make an entrance with a mic in hand, and he explained to Roman how much he's been looking forward to hearing what this favor is, and how Roman is always living outside of reality, but every once in a while, reality comes back to bite him in the ass. Roman, of course, tells Rollins he doesn't really care what he has to say. He didn't call Rollins out here. He called CM Punk. So Seth goes back into the corner, lets Punk makes his entrance so he can finally inform the world and inform us what we've all been waiting for. What the fuck is this favor? And it's finally revealed. Finally, CM Punk comes out. He comes out with a mic in his hand. He gets in Roman's face, and he tells him that the favor is Paul Heyman walking him out and being in his corner at WrestleMania 41, because many, many years ago, Heyman made a promise to him as his best friend that the day would come where he would be main eventing WrestleMania and Heyman would be right by his side. Um, and CM Punk was cashing in on that favor. He did not forget. You know, you brought it up, we brought it up. There was a promo from years ago where Heyman was in the ring telling Punk, one day you're gonna main event, and I'm gonna be right by your side. And the fans were smart; they hopped on it. Of course, Triple H, being the avid Twitter user that he is, had to see it, take advantage of this story. Not saying that, you know, the reason why was because the internet wrestling community put out this promo, but you know, long term story booking or whatever. Um, but so moving forward, CM Punk did let him know that he wants Heyman in his corner. And Roman immediately was dismissive. He said, "Man," he looks at Heyman. He's like, "Man, you better tell this fool no." And he tells Punk, "Even if I would let him, he wouldn't want to. This guy loves me." Um, and off mic, you see Paul Heyman crying. He's shaking. He's like, "Oh no, there's a little bit of turmoil there. He's having internal debate. He's having a dilemma." And Roman is looking at him. He's getting pissed because Heyman isn't telling Punk no. Um, and then Roman gets in his face and he tells him, "I'm going to give you one more opportunity. Tell him no." And Heyman finally responds. He says, "No, my tribal chief, I can't do that." And the crowd erupted. Punk smiled. Rollins was in the corner laughing. And Roman was pissed. He backed Paul into the corner. But Punk attacked Roman Reigns in the back of his head from behind, and he hit him with a GTS, and that was how the show closed out. Paul Heyman just absolutely yelling no in the corner as he can't believe that his best friend has attacked his tribal chief. And now it seems like Paul Heyman will be walking out with CM Punk at WrestleMania. I know we discussed this last week. We had some predictions on what the favor would be. What did you think of this favor reveal with Heyman being in Punk's corner at WrestleMania? And what do you see happening between Roman and Paul's relationship as we move into WrestleMania and beyond?
So the favor was finally revealed. Fucking about time. We were all kind of just speculating for weeks about what it could be and what kind of, pull Paul can have that CM Punk wants. And as expected, it was just for the wise man to walk out CM Punk, which isn't anything bad or anything, but it just didn't carry, I guess, the weight that a lot of people probably thought that the favor was going to carry. You brought it up. He even touched on the promo that we mentioned last week about, Paul Heyman even predicting that this might happen one day. But I don't think that Paul Heyman ever foresaw the future playing it out as it did and him being at Roman's side. So I guess that's where it starts presenting itself into complications, because I said this a couple weeks ago. If Paul is not with Roman at Mania, that presents itself for a storyline post Mania where, Roman might not be able to trust Paul Heyman the way that he normally does because he decided to choose someone else over him. So I'm very excited to see,
Mhm.
what happens and what comes out from this favor. I know that other stuff happened on later on in the week that might jeopardize or even, change the direction of how the storyline is going, but we'll get there when we
Mhm.
get there. I do want to highlight and I do want to applaud Seth though, because in an interaction where he didn't necessarily have to be there. He didn't just stand around like a sack of potatoes like most wrestlers would. He was there kind of providing that extra um I don't know, that extra oomph to the interaction that was happening by just cackling and telling Roman, like, I told you, bro, I told you that whatever
Yeah.
comes with him isn't clean. And like I said, most wrestlers in this position, and I've been watching a lot of LFG. If you guys haven't been watching LFG, you guys should definitely give it a chance. What I've been seeing is that they try to teach them, don't stand around in the ring, do something, interact with the crowd, make the match that much more for the fans. And this is definitely a great example of that, where Seth didn't just, he could have just came in there and stood in the corner, but he didn't. He went in there and he added to the interaction. So I kind of just want to applaud Seth on that direction. As for Roman and Paul, this definitely sets up a conflict storyline, like I said, post Mania. I don't see Paul sticking with Punk post Mania, and I know some people think that Seth will steal the Wise Man at Mania, and I also don't see that really happening. So at the end of it all, Paul will ultimately have to go back to his
Ooh.
tribal chief and deal with any punishment given to him by the tribal chief, because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, Paul, whether it be blood or not, he's bloodline. And we've seen that when bloodline steps out of line, punishment is delivered. I like the way that this storyline has shaped up, and I see why it was pushed to the main event of WrestleMania. And honestly, it's gotten me hyped. Besides what happened recently with the whole Seth thing, and like I said, we'll get there in a bit. This segment alone really did hype me up for this match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was a great segment. I loved it. I absolutely. I mean, of course, there were fans who probably thought that this favor, and there was speculation that maybe this favor would involve something like a number one contendership, a championship match. But you kept bringing it up as well. Like we didn't in storyline and kayfabe. Paul doesn't have that pull. He's a manager. He's a mouthpiece, but he doesn't have that pull of a general manager. So didn't really see that happening. But it makes sense. The favor, of course, being Heyman walking out with Punk. Post Mania, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you there. I don't know if I agree with you on Heyman returning to Roman Reigns. I don't know if Roman would want him back. I think Roman is finally getting tired of everyone betraying him, and Paul is his wise man, bro. Like that's his wise man, bro. Like that's his dog. He's listened to him throughout it all for the last 5 years, from the moment where he showed up on when they showed up on television together, when they said with Nick Aldis, whoever was backstage, no, Adam Pierce, he said that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler, with Heyman backstage when they finally made that partnership a thing. um so from then on, we've seen this story progress. Look, I love it. I love it. But I do think, sometimes things run its course. It's been 5 years, 4 years since they've been together. And listen, I'm cool if they stay together. I have no problem with it. I'm not saying I'm tired of it, but why not, have a change of direction while things aren't dying down, in a moment where people maybe not aren't predicting for such a drastic change between this relationship. I think would be a good moment to make something like that happen. And plus, you never know what can happen with Paul Heyman. I think he's also been a sleazeball. He's aligned himself with people when he's needed favors and when he's needed protection. Look at the relationship he had as the advocate of Brock Lesnar, then going back to CM Punk, then back to Brock, now Roman Reigns. So he's always he always seems to be in the perfect place in the right place at the right time, and developing the right relationships. And listen, I think Roman has benefited greatly from this relationship with Heyman. And you've said it before, whoever Paul works with, they're so much better for it, and there's so much talent in that locker room. That I this would be a great opportunity for Paul, maybe to seek someone else, seek to be an advocate of not even maybe Punk, Rollins, or Roman Reigns, but somebody like a Braun Breaker in the future. I think that would be dope. So I think this is a good opportunity. I would disagree with you on the fact that you believe that Heyman will be returning to Roman once this is all said and done. But time will tell. Time will tell. Post Mania, we'll see what happens. But all in all, thought this was a great build-up for this match here. And you mentioned it as well. I love Seth here. He came out. He said his shtick. He told Roman, "You got to live in reality, bro. You be lying to yourself." And he was lying to himself. Punk finally revealed his favor and is going to cost Roman uh his mentality, is going to cost him his confidence, I think. And so I think we're going to see him a little shaken up that night one of WrestleMania in that main event, but he'll get it together. I'm looking forward to it. um and I know you brought up what happened this last Monday on Monday Night Raw. Definitely want to talk about it with Seth as well, because it does play into this whole favor situation in the triple threat match here. So on Monday night, on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, we were told that Paul Heyman would be addressing the crowd to share his feelings on the whole CM Punk and Roman Reigns situation. He came out to close the show, and he told the fans that never in his life would he be disloyal to either CM Punk or Roman Reigns. But before he could finish his thought, before he could finish his promo, Seth Rollins' music hits again. Seth came out and he told Paul Heyman that, you know what, you shouldn't trust Roman. And Roman doesn't really care about you. He brought up the fact that Roman, after last year's WrestleMania when Roman lost to Cody Rhodes, he left Paul Heyman all alone to fend for himself against the new bloodline. And when Paul Heyman needed Roman the most, when he was calling him, who didn't pick up? Roman didn't pick up. And when Paul was getting put through the table by Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, where was Roman? Nowhere to be found. And while Seth is telling them this, of course, with a little bit more passion and clarity, Paul's face demeanor, he starts to change, starts to show a little bit more emotion. He starts to think about it, looking up in the air like, Seth really is right. I was left alone. I did have to fend for myself. And then Seth turned his attention to CM Punk and Heyman's relationship, telling Paul that Punk shouldn't be trusted either. And the only reason Punk is calling Heyman his best friend is because he knew that it would benefit him. The only reason that Punk helped the Bloodline at War Games as well is because he knew a favor would be indebted to him, and one day he would be taking advantage of it. And that is the culmination of this. And then again, Heyman is thinking about it. He's like, "Damn, Seth kind of has a fucking point." And you start to think like, Seth is onto something. As a viewer, as a fan, he's making valid points. Because yes, they did leave Paul Heyman hanging. He was and he showed up to save the day. He showed up to save Roman from the new bloodline and set up the CM Punk relationship with Roman for War Games. So he is the mastermind. And I think Seth was helping Heyman realize that. But of course, Seth took a little bit of a heel turn here, which I kind of enjoyed. He brought up the fact that the easiest solution to remedy Heyman's dilemma between having to pick between CM Punk and Roman would be for Heyman not to be there, for Heyman not to show up at WrestleMania and to be at no one's corner. Um, so then Seth offers Heyman a deal. He tells him, if only there was a way that we can remove you from this situation. And he started to circle Heyman like he was a lion stalking his prey. He tells Paul, uh, I will take it as a privilege to remove you from the situation right here, right now. Rollins then tells Heyman, what is that thing Punk likes to say? He's not here to make friends. He's here to make money. So how much are you really worth, Paul? And then that's when Seth starts to push Heyman around. He even slapped him in the face, which was I thought was funny, instigating for Punk to finally come out. Heyman tries to defend himself and he tells Rollins, don't you put your damn hands on me again." And then that's when Seth shoved Heyman's face into the corner. And out comes CM Punk, and both guys start to brawl in the middle of the ring. They make their way to the outside of the ring. Punk threw Rollins into the steel steps and went for a curb stomp of his own, but Rollins rolled into the ring. Punk followed, but Seth was quick on his feet and was able to hit Punk with a curb stomp while he was trying to re-enter the ring. So Punk was knocked out on the floor. Heyman ran over to get his best friend and check on him, and he was kneeled over looking at Punk, trying to get him to wake up. And that's when Seth went for a curb stomp on Paul Heyman, but he stopped him. So before he could connect, he kneeled down with a mic in his hand and he told Heyman, now you owe me a favor. And that's how the show closed. Heyman keeps having to dish out these favors, man. What were your thoughts on this final segment of Monday Night Raw, following the segment that we got from SmackDown from uh, Rollins, Reigns, and Punk? And now that Heyman owes Seth a favor, supposedly, what do you think that might mean?
I'm gonna probably catch a little bit of flack for this because I hated this segment. While Seth's promo wasn't horrible, it was kind of weird and not my favorite thing to see on TV. While I thought the previous interaction, like I mentioned, for the storyline was great, this seemed kind of unnecessary, and I don't know what it was all for. For what? For Seth to grant himself a favor ticket? I really hope they drop this segment and we carry on like we did before, like as if this didn't happen, because Paul owing favors isn't something I wanted to see keep happening before Mania and after Mania. Now, if the favor is for him to not show up at Mania at all, then I guess that makes sense. But why is Heyman even entertaining a favor he didn't offer? Uh, I would just say, Heyman, take the kick and move on, or have your chief or your best friend protect you from Seth. You don't owe him shit, and I really don't want to see you entertaining this quote unquote favor that Seth decided to grant himself. To me, this whole segment, like I said, I don't know, it just felt boring. It just felt very off-putting. It just seemed like Seth was bullying, like you said, to kind of like go CM Punk out. And when it finally did, instead of taking the kill shot on Heyman, he kind of just dropped it and said, you owe me a favor. I don't think that's how it fucking works, because I'm not gonna owe someone a favor over not getting kicked. Fucking kick me, dog. I don't want to owe you the favor. So honestly, I hated this whole segment, and it sucks because I love Seth. Like I said, whenever he gets on TV, it's, an eye draw. You want to pay attention. You want to know what the fuck is going up. But this just genuinely just put me off to Seth completely. So I have no idea what the fucking favor could be. Like I said, unless it's don't show up for your own good. But at that point, why wouldn't you just ask, like I said, your tribal chief and your best friend for protection? I don't know, man. This whole segment, I want to get your thoughts on it. I don't know if you actually enjoyed it. Kind of sounded like you enjoyed it, but to
I
me, this
enjoyed it.
this was all very fucking weird, and I didn't like it at all.
No, listen, I enjoy it. I enjoyed it, but I have the very similar gripes with it that you do. So I enjoyed the Seth Rollins talking to Heyman, telling him like, "Hey, bro, listen, these motherfuckers don't really fuck with you. They don't really fuck with you. They're using you, and you shouldn't be used." I like that angle because last week I said, bro, I think Seth is gonna win here, and this makes me excited because I think I have a feeling Heyman might switch up. Not switch up. I have a theory about what's gonna happen in this match. And you said it yourself. Maybe the favor is Seth's favor is Heyman not showing up. I agree with you. There should not be a favor granted to fucking Seth because he didn't kick him. He didn't curb stomp him. That's not how a favor works. That's not how, no, it's not how it works. So I agree with you there. I love this promo up until the point where Seth kneeled over and said, "Now you owe me a favor." I thought that was stupid. I thought that was unnecessary because why would you even say that? Just leave us in angst. Don't curb stomp him. How much better would it had been on television if Seth purposefully didn't curb stomp him? He maybe kneeled over, but didn't say shit, just looked at Heyman, put his glasses back on, and walk away. How much cooler would that have been
I would
for
have
the
loved that a
fans?
lot
We would have
more.
exactly. It would have been us speculating, oh, what the fuck just happened? Why didn't he kick him? But now you told him, now you owe me a favor. And now we're like, ooh, what's gonna happen here? You know, that it leaves less for it leaves less room for imagination. And I didn't like that part. I think it could have been, removed completely entirely. We didn't need to include that little last line, but whatever. It was included. I do think it brought down the promo that much that it is a glaring, fact of the matter. I don't know why he said or chose those words, but whatever. It is what it is. I don't want to harp on it. What I did enjoy though was the points that he was making to Heyman. And now in terms of the match itself, this is my theory here. This is what I think is gonna happen, and I think it would be dope. So Heyman told us already, listen, I can't choose between Roman and Punk. I will never betray either of them, right? So how in a match here, walking out Punk, he's already betraying Roman. I'm sure he's gonna throw Roman a little favor in the match. He's gonna help him out a little bit. He's gonna do Paul Heyman things. But there's gonna come a point in this match where he has to pick one or the other. Punk and Reigns are gonna be, standing or laying down on the floor. Heyman's gonna have to make a decision. Who do I pass this weapon to? Who do I do this for? Whatever it may be. But he has to pick Punk or Reigns, and he's gonna fight with himself. And he's gonna ultimately decide, you know what? I can't pick either. So I'm gonna remove myself from the situation. I'm going to walk away. When he walks away, that leaves both his best friend, both his tribal chief in disappointment. They will never trust him again. They don't want anything to do with him because they're gonna feel like they each got betrayed, right? I think that's gonna be the perfect moment for Seth to capitalize on both of these guys, and he's gonna win because they're so infatuated with playing fucking with getting custody over Heyman than this match itself. And I think for that reason, I think Seth is in a perfect prime spot to win. I would love Seth to win because I think he deserves it. He's a company man. He's taken L's after L after L after L at big shows. And I think beating CM Punk after losing his first match against the man that he so fucking much hates and losing that match on the debut episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, moving and then moving his all-time feud with Roman Reigns as one, combining that together, I think it'd be great for him to get this victory here. I don't necessarily see him lining up with Heyman, but it would be dope. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would not be opposed to it. But listen, in the future, let's say Heyman walks out of WrestleMania, he leaves both Punk and Reigns, fending for themselves, whatever. Heyman gets written off TV for a couple months. The next time we see Heyman, very similar to when he returned with Roman Reigns. What if we see him lined up with Braun Breaker, the man hitting spears outside of this world? Heyman and Breaker would be a sick combo once they're ready to put or have Braun compete for a world heavyweight championship or a WWE title. Once they decide that now is the moment, I think that would be a a phenomenal a relationship there. I think that would benefit both of them, and it would be great for television. That's just a crazy theory that I had. That's what I think is going to happen between Heyman, Paul, and Punk and Roman in the WrestleMania Night One main event match. But those are my thoughts on it. I don't know if you had any feedback for my theories there, or anything you wanted to add on to the matter.
You mentioned it a little earlier. We have said before that anytime Paul Heyman aligns himself with the talent that not necessarily is a need but can use that little extra help to get them over, he always works miracles. We saw where, a Brock Lesnar was before, Heyman got his hands on him, a Roman before he got his hands on him. We've heard the backstage talk of, Heyman giving advice to some of the younger talent like Jade Cargill. So his knowledge, his experience is always going to be valuable. And like you said, I would love for him, if this ends in, Paul Heyman, Roman finally splitting up, and, Paul Heyman finally gets to take on a new client, and that client just happens to be Braun Breaker. I think that would be amazing. It would work wonders for not only Paul Heyman because he'll get a whole fresh slate to work with, but also Braun Breaker can become the superstar that we know he is, that can be, you know, paraded out there week by week and have him defend that belt. And everyone would see him almost to the eye of a Goldberg, where, hey, this guy's not going to lose, and whenever he does lose, it'll be this grand moment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Paul Heyman, fucking Braun Breaker, that pair up would be amazing. And like I said, if this is the catalyst that splits up Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, I think that's perfect. Paul Heyman has come in and he's done what he needed to do with Roman. And even though as a fan, I would love to see these guys work together, even if it's for a little bit more, a split up here wouldn't deter me away from the situation, only because I know that Paul Heyman will be able to work with someone new, even if it's not Braun Breaker, even if it's someone like a Penta that can use a little bit of work with his promos. I think putting Paul Heyman behind anyone would be amazing.
The Tag Brothers aren't gonna need Paul Heyman, bro. He's
Mm,
gonna be busy with Braun
I
Breaker,
hate
bro.
you. I hate you.
But nah, listen, I'm looking forward to seeing the fallout of this match. This is still, this could go any of which ways. I'm picking Seth Rollins here. We'll have our final predictions next week, but I'm sticking with my boy. I think Seth finally takes it here. But I could easily see Punk winning. I don't know. I would like to see the Vegas odds on Reigns winning this match, because I don't know if anyone's really. I haven't seen many people online, any chatter where they have him winning. I feel like it's really between Punk and Rollins for me, is at least from what I've seen. Maybe I'm on just the wrong side of Twitter. But we're gonna have to wait and see. There was another heated promo exchange that I'm excited to talk about, because this is your girl. This is your queen. You love you some Charlotte Flair.
Ew.
And you know who didn't love her some Charlotte Flair? The
Me?
city of Chicago. The city of Chicago. They were having a field day on this poor woman. But this last episode of Friday Night SmackDown, we get a face to face in ring between Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. And Wade Barrett was going to be serving as the moderator. Immediately, the Chicago crowd was not feeling Charlotte Flair at all. They rained her with boos as soon as Barrett announced her name. And she, of course, tried to play into it. She said, "You see that? That's power." And then Tiffany responded so cleverly. She asked the crowd, she said, "Hey, Chicago, what time is it?" And them motherfuckers turned up, bro. They said it's Tiffy time. And then Charlotte was pissed. She was like, "That's cute." And then Wade took over. He got the mic. He took over. He gave Charlotte the opportunity and asked her, why did you, can you clarify as to why you picked Tiffany as your WrestleMania opponent? And do you think that you made the right decision? Now that you've, dealt with her over the last couple of weeks. And Charlotte told the Chicago crowd that the reason she picked Tiffany is because she was desperate. Tiffany, that is. And she hadn't done any charity work in a while. And so she wanted to show the fans of Chicago that there is no comparison between Tiffany and Charlotte Flair. And I don't know what happened after, Charlotte said those words, But Tiffany, bro, she just saw red, bro. She saw red and she just went ham. So she responded to Charlotte, you know what, Charlotte, your biggest competitor has never been within this ring. Your biggest competitor has always been them. She points at the fans. No matter how much you try, no matter how long you're out for, that's a battle that you'll never win. Tiffany then continued to bring up the fact that Charlotte Flair was crying on some talk show earlier in the day, and it doesn't matter how many titles she wins or how many records she breaks, because she's always going to come second to her daddy, Ric Flair. And so Charlotte, of course, to this, she tried to get a response off, but immediately the fans shut her down. They booed her. They booed her so loud that she couldn't get a word off. She tried a few times to, recollect herself, reset. But again, the Chicago crowd, anytime Charlotte would try to speak, anytime she would try to explain herself, they would just step in and they would boo her. They did not let her say a word. And she was so shook. There was a moment where she took a step back into the corner of the ring to give the crowd a second to just get the booze out. You know what? I'm gonna take a little break. So go ahead and get the booze out. And then when she thought it was over, when she thought the crowd was done booing, she picked up the mic. She tried to speak again, but the fans, again, they did not give up. They continued to boo. And you could see it in her face. She started to get uncomfortable. She was flustered, bro. And bro, watching it in real time, I'm like, no, this is crazy. And then that's when Tiffany took advantage. She stepped in. She said, "What's the matter, Charlotte? Cat got your tongue?" And then Charlotte was so shook. She told Chicago, "What would you guys like me to say?" And then she finally gives up. She finally gives up, and she tells Tiffany, "You know what, Tiffany? You can go ahead and have the last word." And that's when Tiffany again scorched earth. She turned up. She said, "Charlotte, at 25 years old, what were you doing? Trying to become a volleyball player, drinking in your daddy's basement? What am I doing at 25 years old, walking into WrestleMania as your women's world champion? And your WrestleMania record may be 4-3, and you may be the queen inside of the ring, but outside of the ring, verbatim, this is what she said. Outside of the ring, you ain't the queen of shit." And then Charlotte try to mock her voice, Tiffany's voice, and try to make fun of her because she has a squeaky voice. She said, "Tiffany, what are you saying? I can't hear you, Tiffy. You're so squeaky." And then Tiffany was pissed, bro. She said, "Bitch." She didn't say bitch. She said, "When I beat you at WrestleMania,
She should have
and when
said
it's all,"
bitch.
she should have said bitch, but she said, "When I beat you at WrestleMania, and when it's all said and done, you're gonna be just like you are outside of the ring, alone. What's that record? 0-3. Woo!" And then she rolled out of the ring as quick as possible. And Charlotte tried to get the last word off and said, "Hey, Tiffany, is that why Kaiser's in my DMs?" And that's how the promo came to an end. Joe Tessitore awkwardly try to, summarize that shit. He said, "Oh, there's so much hatred between these two women." And all throughout this promo, bro, Wade Barrett was so uncomfortable. He had to step in here and there, trying to, trying to put his arm in between them because Charlotte was getting too close sometimes. And so he would, try to make sure they wouldn't get their hands on each other. But man, when Tiffany said, "What's that record? 0-3, you just saw Wade Barrett make a face like, "Yo, she didn't just say that." And it was the craziest thing, bro. I have to ask you, was that a work or a shoot? What was that?
I mean, that was 100% a shoot. There's no there's no tiptoeing around it. I know that there's a little bit of rumblings in the back of WWE not being happy about it. So let me start off from the top. This was bad. This was bad, but it was bad for the Queen. I asked them last week to dig deep. I asked them, do your research, come back and attack your opponent, and that's exactly what fucking happened. Charlotte did horrible, and it's just because she doesn't know how to handle that heat when it comes to her, and it definitely reflected in the exchange this week. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. While Tiffany did stand her ground and carried most of this exchange, this to me was completely dog shit until the end. But this interaction WWE should learn from and adapt instead of try to shut down, Before the last two comments were even made, the crowd made it almost impossible for anything to happen. And while I love audience interaction, I encourage it, there will always be spots where it's best to just sit back and allow that story to develop. A little foreshadowing of what happened to our buddy Jay later on. The crowd flustered the queen so hard she had to resort to voice mocking, which at this stage of her career has no business being done during her promos. Like I said, I kind of figured this was a shoot, and you mentioned that it was confirmed later on that or that this wasn't part of the original segment. That being said, I know that the reports are saying that WWE isn't too happy about what happened, like I mentioned. But if your written interaction was stale to begin with and something off script made that segment memorable, why are we showing displeasure? Charlotte's dating life is very public, so I see nothing wrong with what Tiffany did. Instead, I encourage it. Learning to get into your opponent's head is one half of professional wrestling, and a promo is that exact moment to use any of the information you've gathered on your opponent to shake them up. Tiffany did just that and saw a moment and took it, and we need more people to do this. The Queen's comment about my boy Ludwig is irrelevant, as we know our German king would never. And as for who I'm rooting for, I'm a Charlotte fan through and through, but just like I said about Rhea last week, you don't always have to have the strap or be involved with the strap to be relevant. I'm Team Tiffy, and I think her winning after all of this sets her up for a pretty nice post-Mania run. And maybe this will get Charlotte to move on and face all the talent that's arrived during her absence, because she definitely needs to work on being able to accept that heat and know how to live in it. Right now she doesn't, and I really hope it's something that WWE either trains them or learns and gets someone to train them, but they really need someone to kind of guide them through this process, because I see ton of talent that once they go from face to heel, they kind of drown in that audience reaction. And some of these characters can truly be top heel characters. Charlotte has the ability to be a top heel, but when she does shit like mocking Tiffany or throwing a random jab at her boyfriend, it just doesn't fucking work. If her line about Ludwig was a little bit more thought out, and I know it was in the heat of the moment, Tiffany said something offhand and she just wanted to fire back, but if she would have prepared something, if she would have had something in her pocket on Ludwig, if she would have done that research, this would have came off a whole lot better. But the way that she delivered it, all of us kind of just scoffed and went, fuck, Ludwig ain't in those TMs. So I don't know, dude. Like I said, I really hope that this is the launching pad that Tiffy deserves, and that post-Mania this leads into a phenomenal fucking championship run. And I really hope that Charlotte doesn't leave after this match for a time being to kind of collect herself, because I feel like she needs to take this experience and just learn from it.
Oh, she's leaving. She's gonna leave and come back for another championship match. The problem with Charlotte is she doesn't have a feud that doesn't involve the championship. Each one of her her feuds, anything of prominence with Charlotte, has always been surrounding a title, and there's nothing outside of it. And it just feels like they keep gifting her these fucking opportunities, and it's annoying. I mean, I think what happened here is, you bring up the fact that she wasn't prepared to be a heel or to get booed the way she was booed. And in a sense, I feel like I may not be remembering this shit correctly, but when they announced that she was returning to television, like when they were cutting her vignettes before the Royal Rumble, I felt like they were giving off, babyface energy. And and then I think she finally got there, and people remembered. They were like, "Nah, fuck Charlotte Flair." And then she won the Rumble, and then they were definitely like, "Yeah, fuck Charlotte Flair," because all she ever does is just get these opportunities, and the whole thing is she buries talent, etc., etc. But I wouldn't agree with that per se. But I think I definitely would agree with the fact that I think she works better as a villain, but doing the little childish gimmicky shit like fucking mocking her voice, throwing in these little dumbass jokes about her boyfriend being her DMs because she just got burnt by a comment that Tiffany made. It doesn't bode well for her. Phenomenal in the ring, phenomenal in the ring. And you mentioned it best. This is the most that people have gave a fuck about this match over the last 6 weeks, ever since she's won the ever since Charlotte has declared she'd be facing Tiffany and since she's won the Royal Rumble. This last week got us excited. It got us looking forward to this match. I'm looking forward to seeing what the fuck happens in this match. I don't even care about the opponent as much or the outcome as much. So much so is I care about seeing like these bitches might have to actually throw hands in here, and I would like to see what happens. So I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. I think they announced that it's gonna take place on night one already. It's official. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm on Tiffany's side here. I definitely think she needs to win. She definitely needs to win. Charlotte beating Tiffany here would do nobody any favors. The fans, they're not gonna boo her because she's a villain. They're gonna boo her because they're tired of her shit, and it's not gonna be a good look. It's gonna be a lot more of what Chicago did to her this last week, and I don't think that's where they're headed. But we'll see. We will see. They do love them some Charlotte Flair back there, but we will see. I have my money on Tiffany Stratton though, and I'm looking forward to this match. A match that you were looking forward to, I know you were excited about, was Ray Phoenix finally making his WWE debut. We had chatted a little bit about last week who we thought was going to be his debut opponent, and we actually found out that he would be facing one half of one of your favorite tag teams, Nathan Frazier. So just want to get your thoughts here on this Ray Phoenix debut. What did you think of it? How did you enjoy his match? How did you enjoy his match? And was it everything that you wanted to see out of one of your favorite luchadors debuts in the WWE?
Yeah, so overall, besides a few missteps here and there, the match was actually pretty solid and what I expected. A fast paced spot monkey match. I kind of even prepared you guys for this last week when you asked me, what should we expect from Ray Phoenix? I was like, you should expect kind of the same thing as a Penta, just faster. And I feel like that's what he proved. And who better to bring him into the fold than Seth Rollins' understudy, Nathaniel Frazier? Like you said, one half of the NXT champions and one half of Faction, which I love. And if this proves anything to me, is that this boy is due for a call up. Him and Axiom, they're ready for a call up. I gotta say, I'm a little mad though that I didn't pitch him last week because I've been pitching these boys for months and nothing came from it. And the one time where I should have guessed, one of these boys is gonna come up, I didn't guess it. I'm glad for him though, and like I said, this just proves I feel like post Mania when we get either the draft or this rumored free kind of like agency type of deal that they're gonna do, and we see talent move around. I feel like it's time for Faxium to come up and challenge some of those tag teams that we have up here that Triple H is getting ready for this big tag team arc that he's got prepared. Phoenix is finally here though. He escaped from Guantanamo Bay at last, and I don't think we get him. I honestly don't think that there's a possible way that we get him on the WrestleMania card, but I think that this was a giant kind of debut for him. And the next couple weeks leading up to Mania, I think he should just be facing more of these kind of talents that match his style so that post Mania we can give him a proper storyline to go to.
For sure. No, I don't think he's going to be on the Mania card either. Was it Humberto of the Legada de Fantasma that's going to be facing him this Friday? I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah, I think Ray Phoenix versus Humberto, of course, Mexican versus Mexican. But we'll see. That should be a fun match. Those styles match together. I thought this was a really good match as well. I enjoyed this. The first time watching Ray Phoenix wrestle, there were some crazy spots in here. There was one move in particular. I think they call it the Mexican Muscle Buster, the one that he ended the match with. Very similar to Penta's final or finisher as well. But no, there was definitely a few spots, a few rough spots here. But adrenaline, first match in the WWE. I'm sure my man's, was just feeding off that momentum, and Nathan Frazier was fantastic. This was also his debut match on SmackDown, and he showed out. He took advantage. They both had phenomenal spots across the ring. Definitely a match. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to watch, you should go watch. Nathan Frazier was definitely a surprise, and what's crazy is a few weeks ago when WWE was in Spain, Nathan Frazier's partner Axiom faced Gunther. So they're calling them up already, kind of getting them prepared. You said it yourself. Triple H is doing this whole tag team revival thing. He was big for doing that in NXT when he had taken that over. So I'm sure trying to do the same thing here. I'm excited for it. He's stacking up the card, the main roster. I'm sure Axiom and Frazier will make their way up once WrestleMania is over. I'm sure they'll if they haven't announced a match at Stand and Deliver for the titles. I'm sure there will be one. I'm sure they'll lose there and then they'll move on to the main roster. But they've already debuted them as single competitors. I'm sure they'll debut them as a tag team very very soon. But that's gonna be fun. Ray Phoenix, of course, after the match, cut a promo with Byron Saxton in the middle of the ring, told everybody how excited he was to finally be living his dream, and he is WWE. I am WWE, he said, and the crowd ate that shit up. Um, but yeah, nah, man, I can't wait for him and his brother to team up. You just brought it up. Triple H is putting up this tag team shit. You don't think he thought about that shit when he signed fucking Ray Phoenix and Penta? He said, "Ooh, I can't wait to put these two motherfuckers on a tag
I
team."
mean, of course
In a
I
tag team
did, but
match.
I mean, like, then shit changed, fucking Ray Phoenix wasn't allowed to come out at the same time as Penta, and stuff changed. Penta got some momentum. I don't see why we necessarily have to resort to the same old shit as always and just stick them in a tag team. If we are gonna stick them in a tag team, and that's what you want, shit, give me Lucha Bros versus DIY, give me Lucha Bros versus Alpha Academy,
I'm
Lucha Bros versus the
saying,
Street
I'm
Profits.
saying.
I'm fine with that, but make those matches that if you're gonna force them into a tag team, make the matches that they have worth it. Because if you're telling me that the level of matches isn't gonna stack up in the tag team to what we could have probably had Penta in a solo run, then I'll be very upset.
Yeah, I mean, Penta's getting his match, his Intercontinental Championship opportunity, Fatal 4, where he's cooking. He's doing his thing. He's throwing up the gang signs. The crowds are loving it. So
The gang
he's gonna keep
signs.
cooking. I think once he cools down a little bit, they're gonna find a way to put them together. But I'm gonna enjoy the ride while we're on it. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Ray Phoenix. He's gonna be facing Humberto this week. We'll see. I'm sure he's gonna win again. That'll probably result in him maybe facing Santos Escobar. That's a motherfucker we haven't seen wrestle in a little bit. I must say that's one that we haven't seen wrestle on television in quite some time. I can't remember the last time I seen Santos wrestle. He's been serving as a manager ever since fucking Electra Lopez left. He's been serving as a manager for Legado del Fantasma, I feel like. But I do think maybe I'm reaching. Santos Escobar had a spot in WrestleMania last year. I could see him having one this year. Santos Escobar versus Ray Phoenix, wouldn't be against it. Would be a solid match, but with him Ray Phoenix facing Humberto this week, we will see what happens. But moving on to another matchup on SmackDown, and something exciting that I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing is this week we had Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman in a last man standing match in a number one contender spot match as well for the United States Championship. Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman had a slobber knocker of a match. These guys were trying to kill each other all throughout the fucking ring, and outside through the crowds, going through tables, just doing the absolute most, spearing each other through the barricade. Just Jacob hitting his running hip attack multiple times, ultimately being able to beat Braun Strowman. Jacob Fatu was, and so it is announced that Jacob will be facing LA Knight at WrestleMania for the United States Championship. I know we've been very high on Jacob. We haven't really talked about him much over the last couple of weeks with so much going on with John Cena and everything else, but do you think the U.S. Championship will be Jacob's first title in the WWE? And are you happy with the current direction that Jacob Fatu is currently in, and what is to come post Mania?
Of course, I would love to see our future tribal chief win gold at Mania, but that would kind of kill everything that Knight just went through to get it back. That's where we actually need Solo's involvement to come in. Jacob winning at Mania would be
Oh,
sick, but sometimes the story progression is more important than the moment at hand. Solo costing Jacob the belt at Mania progresses the story plot forward and gives Jacob a legit reason for a rematch down the road. I think the bloodline is doing wonders in general to showcase that even when they aren't the main focus of the product, they make themselves noticed. Jacob is the only current member of the bloodline challenging for a belt at Mania. I think Jacob is just fine where he is, and when his time comes, best believe it'll be the center of attention. Uh this match has me hyped just because, like you said, these are two people that we highly talk about all the time. Jacob has come into WWE like a fucking wrecking ball, and he's made everyone, uh, possibly everyone, a fan by this point, and we all want to see him win big. But like I said, I just think that taking it away from LA Knight this soon kind of just takes away from everything that LA Knight just did against Shinsuke to get it back. So I do see the struggle and the turmoil that's been building up weeks, these past couple weeks now, between Jacob and Solo being the catalyst that kind of cost Jacob the match, and also starts that storyline where Jacob and Solo inevitably split up, whether that be Solo being kicked out of the bloodline or Jacob, leaving the whole bloodline gimmick behind and starting something of his own. I'm excited to see where this goes. I want to say early prediction LA Knight wins, just so that, like I said, we can continue this storyline between Jacob and Solo. But I do want to get your thoughts. I know you're a big LA Knight guy, but you're also a huge Solo guy. Where the past couple of months, he's, like I said, he's won us over. So early predictions. Who do you think has this in the bag? Do you think that maybe Solo's turmoil from the past couple weeks comes to a head at this pay-per-view, and we finally see him cost Jacob the big one on the big stage?
I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised that you think LA Knight's gonna win. Not because I think you're wrong, but because I thought your fandom for Jacob Fatu would have swayed you towards Jacob Fatu. But I hear you. It makes sense. Listen, that's why I was nervous about this matchup, because I'm like, fuck, LA Knight just won this shit. And you're gonna have Jacob beat his ass for it. Because like realistically, LA Knight should get his ass beat at WrestleMania.
Realistically.
But realistically. But Solo Sikoa is, of course, I think is gonna play a role. He's played a role in the last couple of WrestleManias. He's always come out to interfere. I don't see why he wouldn't try to do it again this time. And Jacob Fatu has made it clear. He's told Solo Tamatonga, you gonna do this shit with me or without me. I don't give a fuck, but I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna bring this title to our family. And I don't know. I'm nervous if the outcome at Mania is Solo Sikoa accidentally causing Jacob Fatu the championship. I'm nervous that would be one too many times of the same plot being used for Solo Sikoa. Like that is literally all he has done over the course of the last 4 years when it comes to big matches, assisting his family. And I just feel like it would be too repetitive. And I think it wouldn't bode well for him with the WWE universe. And I think Jacob has already overshadowed him so much that you don't want to put Solo in a super bad light. So I hope he doesn't cost Jacob Fatu this match. I hope that maybe he tries to interfere. He fails. Jacob gets pissed, deals with that in the match, but then refocuses on LA Knight and still finds a way to win, because that's how badass he is. I rock with LA Knight. I think LA Knight's gonna be fine with or without the championship, because he gonna get over regardless. He's just that kind of talent on screen. So I'm not too nervous about it, but it does suck for him. But I would love to see Jacob Fatu have a strong, menacing title run with the United States belt, and then building him up, something similar to what Gunther did with the Intercontinental Championship. Like, that would be cool. It doesn't necessarily have to be 600 fucking days, but Jacob having a strong, long reign, totally believable, and he could, face great opponents during that reign. So I think Jacob's gonna win here. I'm looking forward to this match. It's gonna be a dope moment for him to win at WrestleMania. I would put money on Jacob Fatu, but that's just me. That's just me. But stepping into something a little bit more somber, There was a huge announcement this week on SmackDown as well. Something that nobody was really predicting. There was rumors and rumblings that there was a superstar, a WWE superstar, who was in jeopardy of missing WrestleMania due to an injury. And then on Friday night, it was announced that Kevin Owens would be addressing the crowd for an undisclosed reason. So people put two and two together, and then the rumors swirled and confirmed online before the show that Kevin Owens has suffered a neck injury. But during the show, Nick Aldis appeared in the middle of the ring following a commercial break, and with a much saddened tone in his voice, Nick explained that while he enjoys the majority of his job, sometimes he has to make tough decisions or break heartbreaking news, and tonight would be one of those nights. But he would like to give the floor to the man none other than himself, Kevin Owens, so he could share his truth and his story. Immediately, Kevin Owens' music hits, and out he walks wearing a Bret Hart hoodie and a Finn Balor t-shirt. KO had a mic in his hands, and he got straight to business, got straight to the point. He let the fans know that over the last 25 years, he's been blessed to be able to compete and wrestle all across the world, and he's extremely grateful for the life that professional wrestling has brought to him and his family. But there comes a point to when you have to pay the price for all that success. And unfortunately for Kevin, his body has paid the price, and he announced that he must go and have neck surgery to deal with a serious injury that was recently discovered. He told the fans that he doesn't know how long his recovery process will be. There is no timetable for a return, and if there will be a return, um, but he does thank everyone for their support, and he apologized to the fans, and then he walked out. And as Kevin Owens was walking out, Randy Orton's music played, and he walked towards the ring, and he and Kevin Owens kind of met at the apron. They exchanged a few words before Kevin Owens jumped down, walked away, and headed to the back. Then Randy Orton and Nick Aldis stood in the middle of the ring. Nick told Randy, "Well, Randy, unfortunately, this would mean that you no longer have a match at WrestleMania." The crowd booed. Randy Orton was frustrated. He like grabbed his head, and then he kneeled down on the floor like he was upset. And then as the crowd booed, Randy worked his way up and then hit a RKO on Nick Aldis. Um, and so that's how the segment ended there. Had to send out Randy, to cheer the crowd up a little bit after, the heartbreaking news of Kevin Owens, of his neck injury. Want to just start off by asking how did you feel about Kevin Owens being out of WrestleMania, in the news regarding his neck injury?
It's tough, you hate hearing news like this, but it's definitely part of the business that sadly sometimes needs to be dealt with. I wish KO a speedy recovery, and I hope that we do get to see him in the ring again one day. As for what was happening, I didn't know at the time. I think I even texted you a little bit after. I was like, I had no idea whether to take this seriously or not, and that's not any fault to Kevin. I mean, we know that he likes to play up the troll gimmick, and for some reason, I thought, maybe this is an angle that he's trying to hit. But when Randy did come out, and you saw that look on Randy's face, and you saw kind of just the nod that he gave him as he walked out of the building, you kind of just it settled in. Like KO's really gone, and it sucks because you could see the pain in KO's eyes. Knowing that he could have had a WrestleMania moment with Randy Orton this year, and that just regrettably is not going to happen.
No, it's unfortunate news, definitely, and it sucks that KO is going to be at WrestleMania. One of the matches I was looking forward to. He's put on great matches, and he did mention in this promo as well that it's been a nagging neck injury, so he's had it for a little bit, but it developed into something else. And him, having the ladder matches against Cody, having the crazy fucking match with Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber, putting his body on the line, it's just insane. And it sucks for him, and very unfortunate, but hopefully he recovers well and we see him in the ring again one day very soon. People Kevin Owens has had a very successful career, very successful WWE career, especially for an individual who came out of the independent wrestling scene. And so it sucks. It's unfortunate, but I wish him well. I hope we see him on television soon. But most importantly, I hope he takes care of his neck and we see him back one day in the near future. And then in terms of what happened here between Randy Orton and Nick Aldis, you know, they had to throw in a little cheer up moment for the crowd here. With Randy Orton RKOing Nick. This is the second time that Nick Aldis has been RKO'd by Randy. And so, you know, there's been speculation, there have been questions asked. I want to ask you, do you think there's a chance that we might see Nick Aldis make his wrestling in-ring return and face Randy Orton at WrestleMania?
I've actually been pitching this around for a couple of days now, and I do think that Alden needs to strap up the boots at least for the one time. Not long ago, Wrestling Shithole had Nigel McGuinness return to action for a one-off, and after being benched for what we thought was life. So I can see WWE maybe giving all this the same courtesy to have one last career high. I don't think we need to see him return to full capacity, of course. I think he's doing great as a GM, but a one-off would be fun. And as someone, as you pointed out, um, this isn't the first time that he's been attacked, especially by Randy Orton. This is the second time that he's been RKO'd, so I think some payback is due. If it's not all this, I don't know who it could honestly be. I would imagine that our goal is to try to get Randy to Mania one way or another. It is kind of close. There's not a lot of time to kind of build up a story that flows or anything like that. So, if anything, if it's not all this, it's probably just going to be someone that he can easily win over and have that, that crowd pop at Mania. So, I personally wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like it if it was just a random, one off with a random superstar or some shit like that. I would prefer it a lot more if, like I said, Aldous strapped up those boots and showed us what he had just one more time.
Yeah, I think it would be a cool WrestleMania moment. It would get a pop, but I think with Randy Orton's WrestleMania opponent being in question, they're going to take advantage of this. Maybe we get a surprise debut. Maybe we get a return. But this one is tricky. I just don't know who fits, you know, who Randy Orton can face to where he if he takes a loss, it wouldn't be a stain on what he has going on right now, or if he grants someone a loss that he wouldn't be facing someone where it's not important, not prominent, or whatever it may be. So I would love to see Nick Aldis make his return to the ring. I think that would be dope. But maybe Randy Orton doesn't have a match at all. This is something that we'll see if what they announce on this episode of Friday Night SmackDown. We have two more episodes of SmackDown left. So anything can happen. A match that was made official though for WrestleMania, Naomi versus Jade Cargill, was announced this week by Nick Aldis as well. That was announced following a match between Naomi and B-Fab on SmackDown. But before the match even started, while Naomi was making her entrance, Jade Cargill did attack her. She was trying to get the jump on her, you know, help her homie B-Fab out a little bit. So Jade sent Naomi into the ring, and Naomi got in. She started her match against B-Fab, but she still beat her pretty decisively. Once the match was over, Naomi grabbed the mic, called Jade Cargill back out. She said, "Where you at, Jade? Where you at?" And then Jade came out from behind, attacked her, dropped her on her ass, was gonna hit her with a finisher, Jaded. But that's when security ran out, stopped her, and Naomi was able to roll out the ring. She ran up the ramp. She started yelling, "I hate you! I fucking hate you!" And then Nick Aldis walked out and he said, "You know what? I'm getting real tired of this shit, ladies." And he said, "I have the perfect place for you guys to settle this little beef and these shenanigans you got going on." He pointed at the sign. He said, "WrestleMania," and then they fucking announced that they're gonna be facing each other. Naomi and Jade both smiled in excitement. Naomi had an evil smile. Jade had smile as to where she was excited she was gonna be finally beating Naomi's ass. Um, so this has been made official, and this has taken place over the course of the last couple of weeks. Again, another segment that we haven't really touched much upon, but wanted to ask you, how have you enjoyed the build up to this match, and how are you liking Naomi's new heel turn ever since it was announced and figured out that she was the one that attacked Jade Cargill months ago?
Talk about a bounce back, bro. Naomi's biggest downfall is being a follower, never being able to really take the role as a leader and I guess think for herself. She kind of was always that henchman, and it's finally nice to see her step up and into her own. When she returned to WWE, I wanted to see a different Naomi, but we were just given more of the same. But finally, we see the spark in Naomi, and all it took was for her to go full blown heel. Gone is the smiling, go happy glower, and thank fucking God because that gimmick overstayed its welcome. She's always been a solid worker and could have easily been a main eventer years ago, but the gimmick was just holding her back. While I'm not the biggest fan of the caution tape gear she has going on right now, I think she's honing into this heel persona just fine, and I can't wait to see how far she can take it. But before we can do that, she has a storm to face. I think this match is mania worthy for the simple fact that this story has been brewing for a long time now. Whether the fans have noticed or not, the story has been on our TVs for a large portion of this WrestleMania season, whatever you want to call it, from last Mania to this Mania, it's been prevalent on our screens. So yes, it deserves the spot. I think long gone are the days of just throwing in filler matches during Mania. These ladies both are great in my book, and I look forward to seeing them bring the roof down in Vegas. I'm calling this my sleeper match, to be honest. And one last note, before I switch it over to you, we all know Jade's winning this, so I need Naomi to just go out there and show off. Be that villain that you want us to believe that you are, and keep us hooked for your post-Mania run.
I don't know if Jade is winning here, bro. I don't know if she's winning here. I would disagree. I think Naomi is gonna catch you by surprise. I
Okay.
think Naomi would benefit the most from winning this match. Jade's already established. She's the bigger superstar already. And I don't think Naomi's gonna win clean, but I think she's gonna win, and I think it's gonna benefit her character and what she's done as a heel so far work in her favor. Moving forward in past WrestleMania. Um, and I listen, caution tape gear, any gear, I'm a fan of it. Um, and I think Naomi wins. I think she wins outright. And after that, we'll see what happens. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm fucking tripping. But I think Naomi's gonna walk out winning here sneakily, and then we'll see where she heads off and who she goes on to face. Maybe she's in the United States Championship picture. Um, Once it's revealed that Bianca and Naomi are going to team up and be heels together, both of them can have singles championships. That would be great. But I do think Naomi's going to win here. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe I'm tripping. Don't listen to me. I don't know shit. But I would have I do think Naomi's going to win. Um, Another match that was made official that you're looking forward to that we talked about, and the way it was announced too, they just put the fucking graphic together, and Michael Cole said, "Hey, I just got word," and Pierce said he made this shit official for WrestleMania, and that is Penta, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio in a fatal four-way match for the Intercontinental title. Hilariously, after this was announced in a backstage segment, Finn Balor went over to Dom, Liv, and Raquel, and he sarcastically told Dom that, you know what? I'm surprised that you were going for the Intercontinental Championship. I didn't know you wanted to, but you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy you get the opportunity to prove everyone wrong that has been saying that Dom is too weak, that Dom is too soft, and that he'll never win anything. But now you have a chance to prove yourself. Um, and later on in the night, Penta and Dominic would have a warm up match of their own. And of course, Dom would be accompanied by Carlito. During the match, Carlito tried to help Dom cheat, but Braun Breaker appeared from the back and he hit the craziest spear as he ran down the ramp and hit a spear on Carlito, who was on the outside of the ring. But he ran down so fast that when he jumped to connect the spear, he did a front flip because he was running down so fucking fast. His momentum carried him to do a front flip, and this shit was crazy. I'm sure if you're a wrestling fan, you've seen this shit already. I don't need to keep explaining it to you. It's online, it's viral, it's everywhere. So insane spot here. Braun is a fucking monster. After Braun was able to clear the distraction, Penta was able to hit Dom with his Penta driver, won the match, but that's when Finn Balor appeared with a chair beating on Penta and Braun Breaker. Finn, once he thought both guys were down, he got the Intercontinental belt, raised it up, but doing that gave Braun enough time to recover himself. He got up and he went for a spear, but as soon as Finn Balor turned, he saw Braun. He ran out of the ring, ran and rolled out of the ring. And that's how that segment ended there. And now the stage is set for this fatal four-way match. No, you're looking forward, and you think, if I'm not mistaken, you think Penta is going to win here. Any thoughts on the match between Penta and Dom, or just the segments here, and how this match has now been finally made official for WrestleMania?
The Penta Dom match was solid. I think it's just a kind of an addition towards WWE kind of showcasing or kind of wanting us to think that Dom is winning. I'm still under the impression that Dom isn't winning. I know that there's a lot of fans now that are kind of catching on to the subtle tips and seeing the stuff online that think that Dom is going to win. But I'm still under the impression that Dom doesn't really have the biggest chance of winning here. I think that it's just all being done to kind of give us the illusion that he might win. But that doesn't mean that this stops his momentum here, like you said, after weeks of this being speculated, they finally made it official. And my thoughts remain. I still think that as a fan, I'd love to see Penta win a big one on the big stage, especially with him just coming in. But that also presents a problem of like he just got here, so there's no reason to be, you know, putting the strap on him this quick. I said it before. The fans are under the consensus that Dom is winning, but I just don't see that being the outcome of WrestleMania. But there's a chance that Dom proves me wrong that night. I think Dom and Finn. God, we can't get Finn's name right this episode. Dom and Finn is where we're headed, and the internal beef between them cost them both the match at Mania. That doesn't mean, like I said, that Dom can't challenge later on down the road. But a match like this, having a match with this caliber of talent under your belt, is a big kind of bonus points for when you do finally challenge for that opportunity later on down the road. I'm just glad that this finally was made official, and I can't wait to see who wins on the big night.
Dom is winning, bro. Dom is going to beat all three of these men. He's going to win. It doesn't matter how he wins, how he gets the pin, but he's going to win. And it's going to be great. And it's in Las Vegas, too close to his hometown. And he's going to fucking win. And I hope he pins Penta. And I hope you're pissed, because I think that's exactly what's gonna happen. He's gonna hit the frog splash, and it's gonna be the cleanest frog splash we've seen him hit. He's gonna hit the three amigos on that motherfucker to set it up, and then he gonna hit the frog splash, and then he gonna pin him, and then it's gonna be over, and then you're gonna be pissed, and I'm gonna be so happy just because you're upset. I'm not even a Dom fan. I'm just gonna be happy that you're upset,
But okay, but
and
if
it's
you
gonna be
want
great.
if you want him to win this bad, right? Why wouldn't he just pin Finn so that they could continue whatever storyline they have brewing within the Judgment Day? Why?
Because I'm
Why?
a hater. Because I'm
Yeah.
a
Okay.
hater.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
because I'm
enough.
a hey, listen, in story in kayfabe, yes, pin Finn, and we have the because that's probably what is gonna happen. We're gonna get some Judgment Day drama here. Finn is going to lose again, and I think that's when he's finally broken up with, because we've seen Liv Morgan, Raquel. They already don't like Finn. They're already kind of trying to edge him out, and they're sort of making Dominic aware that Finn is being sarcastic and sort of stabbing him in the back, and he's not giving him any credit, etc., etc. So they've already started to, put these thoughts in Dom's head. They're helping him realize the kind of person Finn has been over the past couple of months, and I think he's gonna finally get to a point on that night and WrestleMania where he's gonna realize, like, you know what, fuck Finn Balor, and he's gonna like you said, he's probably gonna beat him and he's gonna take that pin, and he's gonna become the Intercontinental Champion, and it's gonna be good television. I think he deserves it. Sucks for. I mean, listen. Braun could just move on to the World Heavyweight Champion. Listen. If this motherfucker Jay wins night one, wins night one, celebrates, takes the championship to the club, goes yeeting a little bit. And he shows up to work on Monday. Braun Breaker just lost his Intercontinental Championship. He goes up to Adam Pierce and say, you know what, Pierce? If you don't give me this motherfucking match, I'm gonna spear you. I want a championship match tonight against Jey Uso. And then he gets a match against Jey Uso on the Raw after Mania, and he just spears that motherfucker in 2 seconds. I need a squash match. Bam. Needed to be quicker than Kofi's championship reign. Bam. Spear. And then we crown Braun Breaker championship Raw after Mania as the World Heavyweight Championship Raw after Mania. All I'm saying, bro. If Jay gonna win the shit, if we're just doing a little pop for him to win and celebrate, lose that bitch 2 nights later, I'm cool with that. Whatever. But I think Dominic is gonna win here. I do think Dom's gonna win here.
And as for I didn't even get to touch on it. On the spear, brother, god damn. That spear was ridiculous. Like you said, I don't want to harp on it too much because if you're a wrestling fan, you've seen it. It's been all over the place. It's been mean to fucking hell. But god damn, bro, the dogs weren't even barking yet, and you hit that motherfucker with a spear that made him post about his own funeral on social media, brother. That's how hard he hit him. So spear, phenomenal. Like I said, I saw it actually on social media before I get into my thoughts. I saw it on social media. Someone said Goldberg earlier in the week said that he had the best spear, and Braun took that shit personally, and he definitely did, because if you want to compete for the best spear, you got to beat that.
Yeah, no, Goldberg has some mean looking spears. Let me not be disrespectful. He got some mean looking spears, but this spear here was crazy. It was crazy. Airtime front. I ain't never seen Goldberg hit a spear so hard that he did a front flip. Never seen that before. This was crazy. But he's only so we have so many more spears to come. So many spears to come. But you know what? We brought up one man. We brought up one man just now. We're gonna bring him up again. Jey Uso. Jey Uso, we get a segment here that I know you're excited about, that you enjoyed. I know you were telling me how much you really loved this segment, and that you were finally happy that you saw some fire, some passion out of Jey Uso. So let me just set the table for us. Let me set the table for us here. Gunther and Jey Uso have a face off in the middle of the ring. This on Monday Night Raw. Gunther made his entrance first. He comes out, gets to the middle of the ring, has a microphone in hand, wearing a gray suit with a red tie, looking very sharp, looking very dapper, as Gunther always is. Jey Uso, then of course his music plays. He doesn't come out from Gorilla. That motherfucker comes out from the arena. He's with the crowds. He's with the fans. But he's wearing all black this time around. There is no sign of any Yeet merch. The only merch that he has on is his red glasses with the words Yeet. He isn't dancing. He isn't doing his little yeet off or whatever. He's just stoic and works his way down the aisle as he heads to the middle of the ring. But what was funny about this shit was when he was walking through the crowd, there was a fan. There was a fan. Jey Uso couldn't have picked a better aisle, because there was a fucking fan who had a sign that read mid-event Jey Uso. And that sign was propped up right next to Jey Uso's head. And when we're looking at it on television, I couldn't tell if Jay looked towards the poster, if he acknowledged the poster, or if he just like looked in that direction. He has glasses on as well, so you couldn't really fucking tell. But his head did change to the direction of the sign. So I would think that he read it, and I just think that shit's funny. Mid-event Jey Uso. And so when he finally got to the ring, Jay, that is, he had a whole different demeanor than he's had over the last couple months. There was no yeet this, yeet that, you know? He got to business. He said, he took his glasses off. He starts to cut a promo. He asked Gunther, he said, "Hey, Gunther, you got a family, right?" The crowd started to chant, "Yeet." He asked Gunther, says, "What do you and your family talk about?" The crowd again, "Yeet." Jey Uso goes on and tells Gunther, "You know what I talked about with my family this week? Yeet." And then, you know what I told my mother? You know what she asked me? She asked me, while my brother was laid up in the hospital, she asked me, why did I let this happen to him? Why didn't I do anything? And I've never lied to my mom. So why should I start now? I told my mom I didn't do anything to help because I was afraid. I was afraid of you, Gunther. But you know what? Last week made me realize in my darkest moment, in my darkest time, I realized I'm not afraid of you no more. And when he said this, the crowd popped. The crowd popped. Motherfucker just said, I'm not afraid of you no more. And we got the loudest pop of the night. Gunther took a step back, all because Jay had just said out he wasn't afraid. And then Jay continued to say, he said, before WrestleMania, hug and kiss your family. The night before WrestleMania, I'm going to lay my head down. I'm going to say a prayer and I'm going to pray about you, more so for me. And I'm going to ask the Lord to forgive me for the man that I'm about to become. And at WrestleMania, I'm going to get you, Oos. I'm going to get you for me. I'm going to get you from my twin, and I'm going to get you from my whole family. And I'm going to take the World Heavyweight Championship belt. And then he threw the microphone, his music played, and that was that. And the fans online were so excited. They were happy. They're saying this is the best promo Jay's had all build up, all road to WrestleMania. And I know you really enjoyed it. So want to get your thoughts on it. What did you enjoy the most out of it? And did this get you even more excited for what you already were for this Gunther and Jey Uso match?
Oh, the fucking Jey Uso fanboys are gonna love me after this one. So let me do my little song and dance. I asked Jay to change, and he did. I asked Jay to look for Gunther and not attack him, and he did just so. What I didn't ask was for him to do it so fucking boring. Jay walked down that ring like the Arthur meme with a clenched fist and told Gunther he was scared of him. I don't know what the fuck WWE was thinking, but this isn't it. I don't know what I hated more. The fact that Jay looked like he was being lectured by a grown up, or the fact that Gunther couldn't convincingly act like he was scared of Jay. If Gunther would have retaliated after the promo, the weak look of fear would have made sense. But no, he stood there looking like a B-rate actor attempting to force a tear out, and the whole segment came off ridiculous. At this point, if these two don't show up till Mania, that'll be fine, because there's no amount of build-up left that'll get me hyped for this Mania match. All I'm saying is, Gunther, you better put that boy in the hospital bed next to his brother come Mania, or help me so. I don't know, dude. This isn't. People are saying this is the best fucking promo that Jay's cut. Bro, this shit was dog shit. He came out there and, like I said, he just stood in front of fucking Gunther like he was being lectured by his mom. This is good to you guys? Please take your ass over to AEW and watch that shit then, because this was not good. We should not be learning from what fucking happened here. Not only did this make Gunther look bad because he was sitting there taking this dog shit promo from Jay looking like he was just written the 10 commandments by God, and Jay just stood there with his Finch clips not doing shit, looking at the ground. Bro, this is people still think that Jay is the one and that he should have main evented WrestleMania, but I think this proves exactly why his spot got bumped.
That's why he's opening the show. Listen, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% when it comes to the way it made Gunther look. I didn't appreciate it at all because I I think this is the best promo that Jay's cut in this build up. Was it a good promo? It was better than what he's done in the past couple of weeks. It was I didn't like how slow paced it was, as you said. Started off very slow. I summarized the shit very fucking well, but this was like a 10 8, it was like an 8-minute fucking promo where he was just rambling, getting to the point of him basically saying that, I was afraid of you before, but when you beat my brother's ass and I saw you, I'm no longer afraid of you, and I'm gonna beat your ass now. And that was essentially it, but it took 9 minutes for him to get there. And I heard it. It was cool. I was all right, bro. But like you said, it made Gunther look weak, and I can't fuck with that because, bro, Gunther just beat his brother. He literally just murdered his brother the previous week. Why would you at all be afraid? Why would you at all be shook? You just killed his brother, and you're supposed to be afraid because this guy just told you that he's no longer afraid anymore. And like you said, I just didn't think it made Gunther look good on paper on television. It made him look weak, and I don't think he should walk in there hesitant or worried about Jey Uso, like you at all. That's not the whole Gunther shtick. The whole Gunther shtick is that he's a machine. Nothing phases him. He's sharp. He's the perfect in-ring wrestler. The mat is sacred. There's nothing more important than what happens in between the squared circle, and that's the direction that he needs to go in, and keep him in that direction. And I just don't like what they're doing and how they're trying to spin this for Jey Uso's benefit. I'm not a fan. It is what it is. Like, I'm tired of bitching about it. I just want the shit to take place, get the match over with. If Gunther loses here, he fucking loses, whatever. But I would love, I would love if Gunther fucking wakes up on that Saturday and he decides, you know what? Fuck Jey Uso, and he beats the shit out of him. I think it would be great if he starts the WrestleMania weekend off beating Jey Uso's ass in the opening match. I would love nothing more. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I like you said it best. If we don't see them anymore next Monday, I'm cool with that. We don't need it. We this if this is the last promo, I'm cool with that. This should be the last promo between these two, and then we move on. We move on because I don't know if Jay could do as well as he did in this past promo and the next one, and I don't know, but a match that you are excited about that was announced as well. Rey Mysterio. You know what? He went to the
Yes.
back. He went to go talk to Adam Pearce following a tag match uh, between the LWO and American Made, and with the assistance of El Grande Americano as well. So Rey Mysterio, pissed about what's been going on with El Grande Americano, he goes up to Adam Pearce and says, "Hey man, I'm sick of this shit. You know, I want I want a WrestleMania match. No, he says I want to face El Grande Americano. Let me pick the time and the place." Adam Pearce is like, you know what, man? You're Rey Mysterio, bro. You got it. You tell me where you want to face him. He says, I know just the place. I want to face him in Las Vegas at WrestleMania. Adam Pearce looks at Rey Mysterio. He says, you know what, Rey? It's official. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano at WrestleMania. It was that simple. It was that simple. That fucking easy for Rey. With the match being announced, El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio. Who do you have winning here? And if it is revealed that Chad Gable is El Grande Americano, will this be his first loss? Uh, Continuing the Gable curse, continuing this rut that he's been on, or is he finally going to be able to win on the big stage here? In your opinion?
I know the Chad Gable curse has been kind of prevalent and like he hasn't been able to get a win, but he's been doing really great work regardless. You know, they've been using him to represent the WWE outside of the WWE. They've, giving him this faction to work with of just a bunch of fresh new talent that he can kind of shape and mold into what either he wants or what the WWE wants. So I do think that it is time for Chad to get a win. Is Chad the Americano? I'm still gonna say I don't know. So I don't know if this is gonna be Chad versus Ray. If this is Chad, like I said, I do still want him to win. I think it's time for him to win. And if he kind of wants to get a little bit excited and in the heat of the moment kind of accidentally rip off the mask and reveal that it's him, I think that'll be great. I think that even though the Grande Americano gimmick has been short lived per se, if we ended at WrestleMania, I think it did its purpose. It elevated not only Chad Gable, but it also elevated in a sense uh American Made. Being able to partner up with him inside of the ring this way just, gives them that kind of I don't know, experience dealing with a third that's not always, Chad Gable. So I would love it if this was Chad versus Ray with a face reveal at the end. But I don't know if it's too soon to have like a mask reveal, or if even to go as far as saying let's have this match be a mask for mask. I think that we all are very sure that Ray is reaching the end of his career soon, and eventually his final match might be that mask versus mask. So I don't think it's necessarily the time to pull off that kind of trick now. But like I said, if the Americano wins and he gets a little excited, rips off that mask and reveals that it's him, I feel like that'd be an amazing WrestleMania moment.
Yeah, I think the whole shtick is that Chad Gable's gonna be pissed that he's not getting credit for being the El Grande Americano and for beating Rey Mysterio. He's gonna take his mask off at the end of the match and reveal that it's been him the whole time, and it's gonna be great. But it needs to end in him winning. It needs to fucking end in him winning. There is no world in which Chad Gable, El Grande Americano, should lose to Rey Mysterio. I don't give a fuck. Don't care. There's no world. We have gone so far. We have taken so many losses as Chad Gable fans. I speak for all. The time has come. Our time is now, and this is the match that Chad Gable has to win that will propel him into hopefully a championship reign, intercontinental or world heavyweight. But I need my brother to win this match here, and I need him to do it to piss off all these little fucking fans online who are pissed about this, calling this shit racist, who are upset about this shit. Like, have some fucking fun. And I hope he puts your legend to sleep. And I hope he puts him in an ankle lock
Damn.
and it's gruesome. And he fucking, I just hope he has a blast. I hope he has a blast. And you know his entrance is gonna be something crazy. You know he's gonna play into all this shit that he's getting about being El Grande Americano. You know it's gonna be something funny, maybe controversial. We'll see. We'll see. He isn't. We will see. I'm looking forward to it though. I think he wins, and I hope he wins, and I need him to win, and he better win. There is no decision other than him winning. Um, so Chad Gable or El Gran Americano, whoever he may be, and it is Chad Gable. It will be revealed that it is Chad Gable. Um, I'm looking forward to him beating Rey Mysterio. Ray will be fine taking a loss here. A loss here.
I do have a question though, because you mentioned or you said something that kind of caught my interest. You said there's no way in hell that Rey Mysterio should win this match. That being said, if not Ray, the luchador of luchadors within the WWE, who, in your opinion, is the one that'll take down El Grande Americano then?
I don't think anyone's gonna take him down. He's gonna take himself down. I think
Okay.
he's going to want to take his mask off once the match is over to ensure that he gets credit for beating Rey Mysterio. That's when he's gonna reveal it's been me this whole time. I finally conquered the dark arts of lucha libre, and then maybe after the match is over, another motherfucker comes out. I don't know, but I think that's how it's gonna play out. And so I think and I hope that no one unmasks him other than himself, and nobody beats him, and he's the ultimate. He's the fucking final boss of the luchadors, and that's it. The story that would be told, and people are gonna be pissed about it, and it's gonna be fucking great, and I cannot wait. And I think that's how it's gonna play out. But moving into the final topic of today's episode, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, they kicked off the show. Funny enough that we're ending our show with them. They kicked off Monday Night Raw this week with a contract signing because Adam Pearce was the first segment in the middle of this ring. He invited all three women out. In the middle of the ring, there was a podium, a couple tables, and a contract to be signed by all three of the women. Adam Pearce announced that, you know what, over the course of the last 3 weeks, I realized that I made a mistake. I realized that, you know what, I shouldn't have put all three of you motherfuckers in the same ring because you guys are immature and couldn't handle yourselves and are unprofessional. And so it's resulted in chaos. And the way I'm going to go about fixing that is putting you all three in a triple threat match for the WWE Women's World Championship. So at WrestleMania, it's going to be Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky. And Rhea Ripley, of course, is celebrating. The crowd celebrates. Bianca gets a mic and she's like, you know what? I don't even give a fuck. I'm glad you're gonna be in this match because I'm gonna finally beat your ass. And it's crazy that it doesn't matter that I earned it, that I worked, that I had to go through an elimination chamber, beat five other women while I watched my best friends almost kill themselves, still win the match, and all Rhea has to do is bitch and complain, and she just gets a championship match. That's crazy to me, but you know what? I don't care because I'm going to beat your ass and I'm going to beat Io's ass and I'm going to walk out as the women's world champion. And then Rhea tried to get a word in, and Bianca was like, "Shut up, just shut up. You got the match." She threw the contract in her chest. She said, "Just sign the shit and shut up." And so Rhea did sign it. So did Bianca. And then again, Io tried to say a few words when she was signing her contract, but Rhea pushed Io's face away, and Io got upset. She walked out of the ring. And Rhea and Bianca Belair were exchanging words, and that is when Io hit a springboard dropkick on Rhea, causing both Rhea and Bianca to hit each other. She picked up her World's Championship, raised it to the sky, walked out, and that is how that segment ended. So now it's official. It is finally official. Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair will be in a triple threat match for the Women's World Championship. Do you agree with what Bianca was saying about Rhea Ripley? All she had to do was just bitch and complain, and she got herself a championship match. Um, and does this segment change anything for you on who you think wins at WrestleMania?
After this exchange, I really just hope that anyone but Rhea wins. We need to get Rhea as far away from the belt post Mania, because recently she's been coming off as entitled, and it's really just a bad look. In my opinion, this is going to be Bianca versus Io. And out of those two, I don't really care who wins. Io deserves it for the simple fact that she's probably WWE's top female talent. Then again, I'm a little biased. But I also hope this win is something that kicks off the damage control breakup angle. Kyrie and Oscar are looking ready to return, so why not strap Io up and start some internal beef? Then again, I said it last week. I think Bianca deserves it based off the Becky bullshit alone. But she also is also someone who is a WWE top talent. She can hold the belt well, and I'd love to see what course she takes in defending it, winning it post Mania. As for Io kicking the shit out of Rio, that shit was long overdue, bro. It looked crazy though, and I hope that it didn't really damage Rio's nose. I know that's kind of like some of the whispers around social media is that maybe she got hurt from that. I really hope it isn't, but that's what you get when you stick it where it doesn't belong. Let's not forget that Rhea did this to herself. She pity gave Io an opportunity when she could have just been chilling till Mania, but no, she had to give Io that shot, and Io took over. So, like I said, to me at WrestleMania, even though this is a triple threat, it's still just Io versus Bianca. I feel like one of those two has to win. There's no reason for Rhea to be winning. I said it last week too. I hope that after Mania, Rhea's moved away from the belt and she tries to do something different, potentially maybe a tag team or something. But you, I said it early on the show, you don't need to be in the strap picture to feel relevant. Look at the wonders that the Bloodline's doing, and the only person there going for a belt is Jacob Fatu, and it's not even one of the main belts. So you can be a prominent part of the show without having to be tied in to whatever main angle that they're trying to pull. This match would have been perfectly fine without Rhea, and I feel like it's just honestly being a little spoiled with the Rhea's presence in it. I feel like Io and Bianca could have had a classic of a match at Mania, and we're kind of being robbed from that. And I hope that later on down the line we might get that match, whether it be a rematch for Io or a rematch for Bianca. But I do really hope that we get that solos match between them sometime down the road.
Rhea definitely better not win this match. I will agree with you on that front, and I think Io has to win here. I think you said it's a match between Bianca and Io. I disagree. I think it's the WWE has made it to where it feels like this is Rhea versus Bianca plus Io Sky, and it's disrespectful towards Io Sky as she is our women's world champion. I think that's the angle that they're going for, purposefully. And I think to your favor, because she's one of your favorites, I do think she's probably gonna win. I'm rooting for Bianca. I'm rooting for Bianca. I want Bianca to win because I'm a Bianca fan. But with the way this is playing out, probably realistically, Io retains. Maybe we get the Oscar pop. Maybe we get Kairi Sane's return. Maybe both women make a return at WrestleMania at the same time, and we think it's to celebrate with Io Sky. But then they're like, nah, bitch, bam, they attack her. And then we get to the fallout of Damage Control. That'd be crazy. Um, but I do think Io's going to win here. Uh, and I agree with you on the fact that I think Rhea needs something outside of just another championship match, another chase of the title. We don't want her to fall into the same cycle that Charlotte Flair is in, because people are gonna grow tired of it. I'm kind of surprised that people aren't, growing as tired of it as tired of it now. Especially with like live crowd reactions. They just love Rhea. She can do no wrong. She can do no wrong. So take advantage of that and maybe put her into something else, and a different feud outside of the title picture for a little bit. I'm not saying keep her away forever, but just for a little bit, mix things up. And I think it'll do a lot for her, and just refreshing her and getting the whole Rhea Ripley character to feel a little bit different than what it has been over the course of the last couple months. All in all, though, they're gonna put on a great match. I think Io's gonna win here. I'm rooting for Bianca. I think it would be crazy if at the end of the night we see Rhea Ripley raising the championship belt here. I don't think that's gonna be the case. I do think Io Sky and Io Sky or Bianca Belair will be the winners here. And that drop kick she hit, crazy. That shit looked nasty. It did look like she hurt her nose, but I think she's okay. But it did look bad. It did look like she directly into like Bianca's shoulders, I think, or her arm, but it looked bad. Great drop kick though on Io's behalf. She got up there, nice springboard. She's talented. She's always going to be one of those top performers. And again, this match is going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it. But with that being said, that concludes this week's episode of the Word Around the Ring podcast, which was brought to you by our newest sponsor, Pizza Neo, your local East Side Las Vegas pizza pop-up shop. Of course, we'll have additional information coming to you guys over the course of the coming weeks, but check them out on Instagram at Pizza Neo. And thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Word Around the Ring podcast. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us across all of our social media platforms, including Instagram, X, and TikTok at the World Around the Ring podcast. We'll see you all next week for our WrestleMania predictions, and looking forward to seeing you guys then.